Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's a little loud. I am Allison Gallagher. I am your life coach. I am talking about hard seasons. And when I talk about hard seasons, it's just hard human patterns. Maybe I should describe it. And today's is so important. And I've been studying how to articulate this because I lived it. It feels easy to explain, but not always. There's some gaps. So I've kind of been studying how to make this really crystal clear. This is probably, I think, because I love humans so much, this is going to be one of the most powerful getting you unstuck. This is like one of the most powerful podcast episodes I've done to date. Because it's about shame, and shame will keep us stuck. Shame keeps us very small, and we don't want to be small. I think anybody that's listening to this podcast or watching my videos wants something better for their life, wants to change in some way. And shame cannot coexist with aligned growth from desire. They cannot coexist. They will fight against each other, which is why for me, I ended up creating a method that is the fastest way to neutralize shame to get you moving again. And the reason why I ended up creating this method is because I have become really good friends with my shame because she's been with me for so long. Okay. She was created at the age of 4 and I'm about to be 48. So I studied her, I've understood her, and I saw the role she played. They always play a role. Your shame plays a role, okay? So I'm going to dissect what happens in your body and your mind, why shame is there, and then all the points that I want to offer you to neutralize your shame. So first we're going to talk about what a shame spiral actually is, okay? Something happens, a circumstance happens either to you, someone says something to you, or you do something or say something. Okay, so you could create this circumstance or someone else can. And you make it mean something about you. And you go into shame. It happens in the body first. Okay, numb, fight, flight, or freeze, collapse, okay? Smallness, it takes you inward and downward for the most part because shame is there's something wrong with me. And when the body believes that there is something wrong with us, it doesn't think we're safe inside of our body. Think about it. If the body thinks there's something wrong with us, then that means we're not safe in here, which creates a threat to the body. Then the body reacts. Collapse, numbness, fight, flight, or freeze. Now I freeze. I go inward and downward. Shame makes you smaller, and it makes you smaller because you think there's something wrong with you. Now, not everybody goes inward and downward. Some people, bullies, go outward. And here's why. And I want to say this as neutral as possible. We go outward, bullies go outward, okay? I know bullies locally, I see the behavior and I can name it, okay? Doesn't matter the age. I talk to my daughter about bullies, but bullies happen at every age. I've seen bullies at 60 years old, 70 years old. And it's always coming from a belief that there's something wrong with me. And here's why they go outward. Because they want to take the attention off of them and that they might be something might be wrong with them. So they're going to go outward and attack someone else. They're going to send the attention to someone else. And here's one of the reasons why some people react that way versus going inward. Because it is way too painful to look inside. They can't possibly look inside, so they look outside. And this is where there is zero accountability. excuse making. Okay, we can't possibly look at us because what we might find could be alarming, is the ultimate threat to the body, right? And so people use that use protection by the bullying. Like, a lot of this goes on with eating disorders. This is why eating disorders are so dangerous. Worse than drug addiction. Eating disorders are so dangerous because looking inside is such an unbelievable, alarming threat. So your brain will block you from looking inside. I've seen it happen in real time with coaching clients. The brain will block you from looking inward, so it will start to attack you outward. I've been attacked. My integrity was attacked. My professionalism was attacked. I was being totally attacked by someone because I was butting up against the identity that they had blocking their healing. That was shame, okay? I was pushing against the identity that I was hired to push against because this person wants to heal and get better. Well, we got so deep in the work, I butted up against that last piece of identity, and I got attacked because the brain would not let this person go inside the body. That's what happens at times, okay? That's why shame can be, I use the word insidious because that's what was said so many times in recovery from food addiction, was that it's the disease is insidious, okay? I don't even know what insidious means. I should probably look it up. But this is why shame will keep you stuck. And I want to do as much talking about it as possible, because it is a feeling in the body coming from this belief that there's something wrong with us. It is that simple. There's nothing wrong with us ever. That we're solving for the wrong thing, but I'm going to get off track. I don't want to get off track. That's like for something else. But there's something that happens, a shame spiral is we feel a threat that there's something wrong with us, okay? Our body reacts. Yes, we'll go outward if we can't physically look inward. If our brain is even blocking us from looking inward, we will go outward, and that's what bullying is, okay? Or attacking, emotionally attacking, narcissism. That's narcissism. Narcissism is I can't look inside. I don't know what I'll see, so your brain blocks it. Okay, so let's just say we go inward, okay? I go inward and downward. Because either way, it's either way, shame is making you small. Because if you're looking outward and you're attacking outward, you're not taking accountability, right? So you're smalling yourself, right? Because you're not seeing how powerful you are. You're not seeing your power in your own life, okay? So let's just say we go inward and downward, okay? Because shame is just it's a form of control. It is controlling you from doing or not doing something, because it thinks that there's something wrong with you, okay? So it's going to tell you to hide, withdraw. It's going to have you overthink, try to fix yourself, but it loves isolation. It's going to disconnect you from your highest level thinking thoughts, okay? It also feels very necessary. Shame is always going to feel urgent, panicky, and necessary. I want you to be able to label. After this episode, I want you to be able to label your shame and shame spiral. Because here's what I sat in my shame spiral. Like several weeks ago, I was triggered. I was triggered by something that came across my desk. Okay? And it's something that I'm still healing. And it came across my desk. And I went into a shame spiral. I was in a shame spiral, but I stayed present with it for 3 days. Okay. I shared about this. I don't know how many podcast episodes it was ago, but I'll talk about it a little bit here. So I had alarm in my body. I had frustration, panic. I wanted to isolate. It's going to disconnect you from yourself, because when you think that there's something wrong with you, your body is going to fight to be out of your body. Okay? I mean, this is what fuels addiction. Any type of coping mechanism is removing you from inside your body. Think about it. Think about any coping mechanism. Perfectionism has you focus on something other than you, on others. It feels like a form of control. Procrastination, overeating, over drinking, scrolling like TikTok for hours, numbing in Netflix, or even over exercising. Overwhelm, anxiety, confusion. These are all coping mechanisms to remove you from your body. And any kind of self-doubt, fear, all of it is to remove you from your body. That's what a coping mechanism is. And it's a form of protection. Shame is a form of protection. Because it's like, if I reject myself, I won't move forward. If I reject myself, I'm rejecting myself before I can be rejected by others. And it feels true and it feels necessary. Shame feels true and necessary. Okay? But it's not. It's not. It's a pattern. It's a protective measure created over time from a belief. And I have to say, usually the opposite is true. Okay? When shame comes over me, the opposite is actually very true. It's usually the opposite. So I want you to think about how that pertains to your life. Okay? So I have some notes written here. So here's what happens. It's all in the form or the name of safety. Okay? So some people go outward and attack. That's to keep themselves safe. Some people go inward and downward. That's to keep you safe. Okay? Right? You don't want to get it rejected by the outside situation, or you don't want anyone looking at you, so you're attacking on the outside. It's all in the name of safety. So what happens, several things happen in a spiral. Most people don't know they're in a shame spiral, and they're freaking out. They're controlled by their mind. Okay? Whatever the mind is saying in the shame spiral, they're just obeying, right? And it might be drink more alcohol. It might be freak out on your kids, or numb from your partner, or steal, or, whatever the thoughts are that could be so toxic in a shame spiral. For me, it was I would just disconnect from my family. Okay. I would go inward and downward, which means I'm a burden. Okay, I'm a burden is a huge one for shame. Okay, I can't tell you how many clients I've had to help understand and see what's actually true, that they're not a burden. And I had a belief that I was a burden, and I didn't even know it. But I got so good at understanding my patterns that I started to see that it was there, and it probably had been there for a long time. Like, one of my other thoughts that created shame for me, it's anything underlying that there's something wrong with us. And for me, I was bullied so bad. I was bullied in kindergarten, 2nd grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. I mean, kids did awful things to me. Adults said awful things to me, and my parents did not come to my rescue. Now, they did the best they could, but when you're 8 years old, 10 years old, and nobody is coming to your rescue, what do you decide to believe? I'm not worthy of being protected. There's something wrong with me. I'm a burden, right? I'm too much. All of these thoughts, if they're way deep down, and you have these desires to build something in your life, to change something in your life, and you have these underlying beliefs that you do not know are running the show, you're going to struggle. You're going to work really, really, really much harder than you have to create the results that you want. Okay? You might stay stuck and give up. You might be dragging a ball and chain and have to use triple and quadruple the amount of energy. I want to release all these things, the stuckness, right? The patterns that I solve, I help my clients solve, is go from stuck to unstoppable. And this is a part of it, is the patterns. And the patterns are coping mechanisms. Shame is one of them, okay? So that's what a shame spiral is. But here's the deal. A shame spiral happens. We don't know how long it lasts. Like for me, because I stayed present in my body and knew I was in a shame spiral, it lasted 3 days. 3 days in my body, I sat in my shame. I cried. I was super present. I knew that the shame was there, but I want to break this pattern. So I'm not running from it. Every time you meet it, a pattern, every time you meet the pattern with different energy, you're dismantling it. That's what I help my clients do. They get to know their patterns so well that they just become not a problem anymore. The behavior is not needed anymore because they are different. Because they're meeting the pattern, right? When you're triggered and you show up to the trigger differently, you're teaching your body it's safe to do it differently. And it's steps to do that, right? And that's how my clients go from stuck to not letting the patterns derail them anymore. They become so self-aware, okay? And that's how you become unstoppable. So for me, I was unstoppable even in a shame spiral. But here's what happened. This is what I want to offer. That the shame spiral lasted 3 days. And while I was in it, I was spending time with my family, and then I would cry, right? I would like not, kind of like my husband knew what was happening, but my daughter did not. Okay, he knew I was in a shame spiral and he knew what triggered it, right? But I'm meeting the triggers in a different way. And so I told my husband, I have to stay here with this. This is what's happening. I know what's actually true. I'm not going to make any major decisions right now. That's the next thing. In a shame spiral or any heavy emotions, really panic, threat to the body, numbing, fight or flight, like don't make any major decisions. I don't make major decisions about my business, about my life, about me, about who I am. Like I don't make any major decisions in that moment. I just stay with myself with compassion. Okay? You cannot because shame is going to cut you off. It will cut you off from your higher level thinking thoughts. Your higher level thinking thoughts come from abundance, belief in capability, excitement, joy, certainty, confidence, right? Those are the money making thoughts, and energy. Feelings have energy, right? And when we feel lighter in our body, more confident, certain, excited, desire is number 1. Okay, desire to create, desire to be, desire to do. Desire is the number 1 feeling that creates the energy where you can collapse the timeline. Okay, shame, fear, doubt, overwhelm, anxious, those are the low level energy feelings that they will cut you off from growth. They will cut you off from movement. Okay, they will pull us back is what happens. And we're human. It's going to happen. Life is 50-50. Good and bad will happen no matter how much we're loved, no matter how successful we are, no matter how much money we have in the bank. We're still going to have good and bad happen because we're human beings. Okay, but so going back in those 3 days, I was very present in my body in the shame. And I just allowed the shame to be there. It was over a weekend. Okay, so I was very present. I didn't isolate and step away from my family and just tell them, because there have been times where I've said, I am a burden. You need to stay away from me. You need to get away from me. I'm sabotaging our life. That's what the shame spiral says. And the shame came from a trigger of a result. Some type of result happened and my shame was triggered. And I didn't know that the shame was a trigger coming from a protective measure for most of my life. Okay, I was just oh, here's a reminder, there's something wrong with me. And then I would beat myself up, right? Shame is going to tell you, it's fueled by ridicule, self-judgment. If you try to go against it, push against it, or if you believe it, it will fuel shame. If you resist it, push against it, or believe it, it's going to expand it. It's going to fuel the need for it, right? In those 3 days, I just allowed it to be there. I just got curious about it and allowed it to be there. And by Monday morning, I was feeling different. And now I know anytime I'm in a shame spiral, that's what I do. And they last less and less and less and less and less. If I do what I did, I was aware, I decided it's okay for it to be here, that I'm just going to let it play out and see what happens. And then what I did on Monday, I went back to what triggered me on Friday or Thursday. So something triggered me. Okay, a result triggered me. And Monday I went back to that trigger because I abandoned it on Thursday. I was like, I can't handle this. I went back to it on Monday with a very different mindset. I'm like, I am safe to deal with this. And I'm going to do it from a place of calm and confidence and not panic and shame. And it felt very irresponsible in my body. It felt very foreign in my body to not panic. Looking at the result of what was happening, the trigger. And every time I go back to the trigger and look at it different and handle it differently, I change. And my circumstance changes and my life changes. My results change. And this is no different for you. Okay? But here's what happens if you don't know you're in a shame spiral and you're not purposefully creating safety in your body. What happens is we're triggered, we feel shame, and then we either numb out, we freak out on someone else until we feel safe in our own body. Okay? We numb out, okay? We numb out of our life, we drink until we forget. Well, that creates false sense of security and safety in our body, right? Food creates safety in our body, okay? If we're food addicts or whatever, compulsive overeaters, right? That calms the body. So we could be using other coping mechanisms to satiate, okay? To minimize the shame, but that's fueling the pattern. We're temporarily creating safety in our body by using something other than creating safety in ourselves purposefully. Okay, it could be sitting and numbing out and eating and watching Netflix. It could be any type of substance, right? It could be, I don't know, there's a million different types of coping mechanisms that's going to create a false sense of safety. Because when there's a threat in our body, then the body says we need to go outside of ourselves for safety. Because if there's something wrong with us, we're not going to look inside. Your body is not going to tell your brain to look inside yourself for safety if you have the belief deep down that there's something wrong with you. If you're a burden, you need to be fixed. It's going to look outside of ourselves for safety. That's the lie. In the 3 days, I went inside myself and I sat with her, curious with compassion. And then I went back to the trigger, deciding shame can be there, but it's not running the show. I'm going to look at this calmly with confidence from the identity of who I'm becoming, from the identity of the version of me that this isn't a problem, that shame isn't a problem, that this trigger is no longer a problem. I did that with purpose, with knowledge of my awareness of who I am and who I want to be. Okay? So, shame is going to disconnect you from yourself. Always. Okay? You can stay present with that even if you're disconnected from yourself. You can try to go back into your body with safety or just stay present and not go outside sources for safety. I didn't go to any outside sources. I just sat with it. Okay? And then by Monday morning, I felt comfortable going back inside my body. Like I felt comfortable going back, just deciding that or the feeling of shame just started to dissipate. Okay, I stayed with myself in my body. Okay, I didn't go to any outside sources to numb, to cope. Okay, this is like why I'm like an expert with this feeling. By Monday, the feeling started to just dissipate, and I knew that because my normal level of thinking came back online. I had access to thoughts that I really didn't have access to on Friday. By Monday, I was like, oh, I forgot. This is who I am. Like, this is who I am, like this person. I have these achievements. I am this smart. I am this the. On Friday, I was like, everybody needs to get away from me because I'm fucking everybody else's life up. Right? That's a shame spiral. That's my shame spiral. Okay? And then, so shame spiral breaks the moment you stop abandoning yourself, which is what I did. I stopped abandoning myself and going to something else other than me for safety. The body is going to push you to abandon yourself because it thinks that there's something wrong with it, which is a threat. I've said that multiple times now, but I will say it as many different ways as possible so that you leave here with a new level of thinking and believing about these patterns. Because these are the number one reasons that my clients are stuck. Most humans are stuck. Okay? So these are the 10 things. The 11th is shame dissolves through being witnessed, not fixed. Witness it. Sit with it. Get to know it. What does it need? It needs to know that I am okay right now, who I am, where I am. And that's what I did when I came back online on Monday. I knew Monday I was going to go back to that trigger and do it differently. And it scared me, but I knew I was going to do it. And how I did it was, I'm safe here. I am safe in who I am to figure this out. That this urgency in my body of shame is not what's actually true. And when you do that, it dismantles quickly, okay? So I'm going to sum up. This is the method that I use with my clients. And it doesn't always have to be about shame. It's any thought or belief that disconnects you from what's true. You have a desire in your body to be something, to do something, okay? And then all of a sudden, your body and your brain are not aligned with what you know is possible. And it starts to pull you away from yourself for whatever reason. So many different reasons we disconnect from ourselves. And then we're pulled away in some type of coping mechanism, some type of pattern, some type of sabotage. Okay, that's pathway 1 in my 5 pathways. The second pathway is returning to returning to safety. Okay, let me reconnect back to my body. My body is pulling me out of myself because it doesn't feel safe moving in the direction of what we think is possible, okay? We have these ideas, these goals, these dreams that are coming from within us, right? And the body's pulling you in a different direction. And then it tells them, and it's telling the mind, go do this. And the mind's like, okay, let's go find safety outside of ourselves, okay? When my clients work with me, they know that this is what's happening, okay? And then safety is the first thing. Okay, wait, let me ground myself in my safety. I'm okay being right where I am and who I am, okay? Then we move into the third pathway, which is deciding what we want to believe in that moment, okay? Instead of whatever our brain is yammering on about, okay? We decide what we want to believe. And because we've created safety in our body, then we move into the belief lands faster, okay? Then we go into taking action. Who are we and how are we taking action in that belief? Okay, and that's how we move from what the body and brain are taking us to moving in an aligned way. And what is that? When we move into an aligned way, pathway 1, 2, 3, 4 is leading from what's true is the name of the pathway. Okay, so then we know taking that action we actually want to take is actually safe. Really what that's doing is returning home to us, because deep down we know that desire is what we want and what we're capable of. But the brain is pulling us and then we bring it back, and it's called the return of you method. And shame is the first it is the fastest disconnection, right? So in my journey of my returning to me constantly, whether it's shame or anything else, though, I mean, shame pulled me to have an eating disorder because I didn't feel safe here. So I ate to feel safe, okay? So I get it, man. I get that shit. So that's it for
this, okay, I hope that this, I'm gonna read through them again. Okay, I named 11 roughly, but they don't start with the behavior. Shame doesn't start with the behavior. It's starting with an outside trigger. Okay, a result in some way. We did something, or someone did something, or something happened. And then your body enters the spiral before your thoughts do. But then your thoughts are going to take hold because your body goes into alarm, shutdown, attack in some way. And then your brain's going to be like, oh, we got a problem here. And the thoughts are going to go. The self-criticism, the judgment, the screaming, the whatever it is. Okay. And then we're going to go outside of ourselves for safety by attacking other people. Okay. Fight, flight, or freeze, or we go inward and downward. They feel necessary and they feel factual because it's coming from, there's something wrong with us, we're a burden, whatever, we're broken, we need to be fixed, okay? And it feels necessary to fix that because it feels like a threat inside of our body if there's something wrong with us, okay? So it feels urgent. The fastest way to deepen shame and the behavior, the trigger, is believing it, arguing with it, or resisting it, right? I neutralized it quickly. It lasted 3 days, which is way better than months, years, forever, okay? Because I did the opposite. I created space for it. I had compassion for myself. I didn't make any major decisions, and I had curiosity why it was there. And I knew the trigger that caused it, and then I went to the trigger, back to the trigger with different energy. I didn't do it in the shame spiral. Okay, I allowed the shame to process. I created safety for myself as it dissipated. And then I went back to the trigger with different energy. That is the way to change the behavior and to change yourself and your life. Shame is not a problem. It is a protector. It is trying to keep you small because there's something wrong with you. Okay, it's rejecting you before you can be rejected by others. And when you understand that, you can look at it from a different angle and tackle it from a different angle. Okay, you have to make it feel safe. We have to make it feel safe. Safety and shame inside our body cannot coexist. And inside our body is where we need safety in order to create whatever we want to create in our life. So isolation is shame's favorite strategy, okay? And even I watch the people that are attacking others. They're isolating themselves. Even if it sounds like they're bullying and corralling people, they're isolating themselves is what they're doing. They don't know that they're doing that. So whether it's inward or outward, you're isolating yourself. It disconnects you from higher level thinking. Do not make any major decisions in a shame spiral. And it breaks the moments you stop abandoning yourself. What's actually true is there's nothing wrong with you. You are fine. You have some patterns because you're a human being. What's actually true is you are not a problem to solve. The opposite is actually true. What did I start this podcast with? It's always the opposite that is true. And when you stop abandoning yourself and you come home to yourself, you can get moving again. And I want you to be the person, if you desire to be, that you never leave yourself and you always are living aligned. When we come back home to ourselves, our body, our mind, our energy, our actions are all aligned. What we say we're going to do, we actually do. Okay? How powerful is that? When we know we want to go out and make $1 million, well, then we have no problem going out and creating $1 million. And that could be a 5-year, 10-year road. But the abandoning ourselves is energy draining and will create burnout long term if you don't know what's happening. And then are you ever going to create the money? Are you ever going to create the result that you want? Lose the 100 pounds? Like whatever it is. And shame dissolves through being witnessed and not fixed. Just allowing it. It's our friend. Like I love her. I love the part of me that shames me. And believe me, there are times where my brain offers me shame all the time. I'm going to share a very quick story, which I've shared before. And so if you've heard it, log off. But this sums up my return of you method and how often my brain offers me shame.
to protect me. My brain was offering me shame this weekend, and I wanted to hit my husband, okay? Because my husband can be hypercritical. He can be a hypercritical individual. And when I am feeling crappy, that will trigger me, because it will be like there's something wrong with me, okay? So the first time I realized that I was using this method, one of the first times I realized I was actually using this method that I'm now embodying and teaching, is because I didn't know how to water the plants that we got from my mother-in-law. And I underwatered some and overwatered others. And my husband was like, what's going on here? Like, the plants are dying. And they were very important because they came from my mother-in-law who died. And my first thought was, there's something wrong with me. Why can't you fucking water plants correctly? Like, what is the problem? Okay, shame. Boom, shame. And within milliseconds, I'm telling you, a blink of an eye, I have dismantled shame so much that my brain offers it to me and it does not derail me. Because within milliseconds, I was like, no, that's not the truth. The truth, that's never the truth, that there's something wrong with me. And so then I went into believing something else could be the issue, right? I started this podcast with saying you're solving for the wrong thing when you're trying to solve for the behavior, right? I'm not trying to fix myself. I solved for something else. Because I didn't believe the shame, my brain showed me that could be other solutions. And I grounded myself in safety, that there's nothing wrong with me. And then I went into believing that there's probably a different solution. And then what came out of my mouth, which is pathway 4, leading from the truth of my 5 pathway method, what came out of my mouth to my husband was, there's nothing wrong with me. Well, what I said to him was, I'm not the problem. We need a better system. Okay? Because I grounded myself in safety of who I was and am, I was able to speak very clearly out of my mouth, stick up for myself and what's actually true. All these plants are all different sizes, all different shapes, all different weights. And I've never taken a class on how to water a fucking plant. I don't know how much water it needs. Sometimes it's coming out of the bottom, sometimes it's not enough. And as vulnerable as that feels, that I don't know, that maybe people are born knowing and I wasn't, as vulnerable as that feels, it's actually what's true. And I'm sure there's a lot of people on this planet that can agree with me. That does not mean that there's something wrong with us. It just means it's something we don't know about. And that is easier, that is more fun to believe than there's just something wrong with me. I'm just not willing to believe it. My body still has that belief a little bit, okay? But I see it, I recognize it very clearly when it pops up, and it does not derail me. But it derailed me for a long time. And also what could happen is you look back with regret and beating yourself up that you allowed a thought or a belief or a behavior to derail you for so many years. That does not serve you, and it fuels shame. It absolutely fuels shame. It will keep you in the problem. It will keep you solving for the wrong thing. I want to make that crystal clear to you. So, this is the second episode of my 10 podcast series of my hard seasons. Shame is a big one, okay? And I want you to leave here feeling enlightened, just lighter about what shame is, to neutralize it, to let you know that you're not alone, to give you tools. And if you want to take this work deeper and you want to dismantle it as fast as you can and stop having it derail you, you know that it is. This is what I do. Like, this is my lane. And I am here, okay? We could take this work deeper with one-on-one coaching. And my calendar is in the show notes. I'm also teaching this live every Thursday at noon in 2026. I'm so excited about this. You can hop on a Zoom call, learn, listen, you can get coached. And the link to register for that, I just ask you to register one time and they can come as many times as you want. I got to lock it down a little bit, that registration link. So you're going to have to register. And that link is in the show notes. Other than that, I will see you next week for hard season number 3. I am here for all of you to help you get unstuck. Love you all. Bye.